Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for June 6th through 11th, 2022. Well, we've had Mercury turn direct, but we're not really feeling that forward motion. And it seems like this has to do with Mercury being in square to Saturn. Mercury and Saturn are our two time planets. Mercury, our day-to-day reality and perspective, and Saturn, the keeper of time and reality. So with this square, it's this feeling of being hung up. And Saturn in Aquarius, it's this whole thing of like, are we really doing this? Are we actually going to spiritually evolve? There's this so-called spiritual ascension happening, almost an energy of like wrestling back our reality, our timeline, our life, our world. And indeed, this is exactly the astrology, because we've had Mars and Jupiter together. Very powerful activation we've been feeling over this last week and a half at the beginning degrees of Aries, and now they're beginning to separate. But with Mars and Jupiter both in Aries, it's a huge expansion of our warrior self. Mars is at home in Aries, loves to be at home in Aries. It's activated, it's fire, it's let's go, let's do this. And it's about life force. And so the warrior in us is getting activated. There's definitely a divine feminine masculine and feminine activation happening right now, because Venus is also in her home sign. Venus is in her home sign of Taurus and resting there, and Mars in his home sign of Aries. So it's like our masculine and feminine are feeling at home. And when we feel at home, we can flourish. We feel supported. And this is exactly the energy. Now, Mars is going to be coming up at the middle of the month with a conjunction with Chiron. And that's very powerful energy of this activation of the divine masculine spiritual warrior. This standing up, rising above, and claiming our reality. Incredibly powerful. It's bringing the masculine out of woundedness and into empowerment. So we've been out of touch. Our whole society has been kind of systematically demasculated. And then this idea that masculinity in general is toxic. That's exactly what happened to Mars in astrology. Mars has always gotten a bad rap. It's like, well, war, aggression, and that's what you get with Mars, right? But that's missing the whole beautiful aspect of what masculine energy means. And so the masculine in each of us, okay, so I'm not talking male and female, it's within. We all have masculine and feminine. So the masculine is an activation of, or the masculine energy is an energy of strength and support and protection and movement and building. The masculine, empowered, especially with the love of the feminine, wants to build and create something beautiful, that garden. And we've been we've been so traumatized just by existing in our world. It's like been really hard to activate any masculine energy of moving forward and creating. And, it's like we've been immobilized, and especially over these last couple of years. So Mars home in Aries and that Chiron activation, it's like a huge empowerment. Now, at the same time, that's going to be right at the middle of the month. And we've got a full moon in Sagittarius then as well on the 14th, Tuesday the 14th. There will be an activation on Monday the 13th. So this is a Sagittarius full moon. It's the completion of eclipse season. And we are really feeling an explosion of fire energy right at the middle of the month. And this is right when Mars and Chiron will be together as well. And Venus will be with the North Node at that time of the month, the middle of the month there, right by that full moon in Sagittarius. But before that, Venus comes up to Uranus and Taurus. So Venus at home in Taurus, but Uranus and Taurus is like this activating energy. It's an awakening energy. It's higher power. It's higher technology. It's higher vibration, higher frequency. And so it's a feminine upgrade, divine feminine upgrade. And while the masculine is learning how to take back his power and to stand strong in that grounded strength that's available in the masculine connected to source, right? And then the feminine connected to source. Very sweet energies of these together. So Venus comes up to Uranus, this activation of a new timeline, it feels like, for the feminine in all of us. Our intuition, our sensitive side, really speaks to, well, the Mars-Jupiter activation that we just had over the last 10 days really seemed to be about instigating a new timeline, and the ascension timeline. You know, it's like an activation of the ascension timeline. And so when Mars comes to Chiron and stands strong and overcomes these wounds and heals. Now, the wounds of Chiron, when they're healed, so Chiron in our birth chart represents our deepest wounds. And it's a very important planetary energy. It's an asteroid, but for supernova souls, because it speaks to your journey over lifetimes in this evolution. And it's kind of a signature energy of what your core wound and what you've been working on through this whole Earth evolution. When those Chiron wounds are healed, they become a shamanic power. And so with this divine masculine activation, it's taking the wounds of the masculine, maybe that feeling of failure or not being able, that they haven't been able to stand strong by woman, and have the balanced energetic society that we really could thrive in. It's like where the masculine is coming into just kind of it's like taking pride again in the positive aspects of masculinity, getting out of the woundedness and that feeling of failure. It's like because we still have this Jupiter square black moon Lilith going on, and Jupiter square black moon Lilith is Jupiter's trying to expand into this life force energy, and that square with black moon Lilith says, yeah, but do you deserve it? Like, can you receive it? Are you loved by your mother? This is this feeling of, are you loved and held here? Can you receive your own abundance and what you need? Now, Venus and Taurus is really good at receiving. It's like she's just immersed in the sensations and experiences, allowing a full experience of life and all that life has to offer on every level. And so these two aspects together of this awakening, and this is right around the Sagittarius full moon, so very powerful. And the masculine is in power, and the feminine is awakening to her higher technology power. Literally, female technology, female free energy is a feminine form of electricity based on perpetual motion. So, it's like you could see the masculine as the spark and starting to get things going, and then the feminine hums along and creates and regenerates. This is in the planet, whatever we're living on here, this beautiful world. We are so busy, and we don't see and feel and absorb. Maybe that's what we're learning to do, to slow down and receive in the moment where we're at and from the earth. But we've been so programmed with lack, and there's not enough, in poverty consciousness. But our world, the divine goddess, manifests as earth and physical form as a representation of the great mother. She's continually regenerating herself. If that's not the greatest miracle of life, when are we going to start living and breathing the miracle that life is, instead of walking around like zombies? And this is exactly this astrology. So Aries with Mars and Jupiter in Aries, it's like in Chiron, it's like patience is wearing thin for the half-lived life, you know, and a lot of those experiences of coming out of this very strange time over the last couple of years, and kind of where we've been so suppressed in our living and experiencing, and it's like, oh, I want to get out and do these things that I haven't done, and then it kind of, but almost an empty feeling, like I wasn't living before this started either, you know, and now I can't go on this way. What in the heck am I here for? So Sagittarius holds the energy of our quest and our mission and our this epic journey of discovery, the story, and the hero's journey. So this full moon is at 23 degrees, very powerful number. 2 and 3 is 5. It's all activating energies. It's all about the masculine and feminine coming together in that divine marriage. Now, the powerful thing about the Sagittarius full moon, though, is that it's in square to Neptune. So the sun and the moon both in square to Neptune at 23 degrees in Pisces. And, or is Neptune at 24 now? So that energy is really powerful, because Sagittarius in this bloom of fire, because we've got all that Aries energy and then the Sagittarius moon, and it's like, oh, I want to get back on my quest. I want to feel purpose and meaning and seeking and learning and discovering and teaching and traveling and expanding into possibilities. And then square Neptune, though, is conflict and tension around where we're not living our spiritual truth. So it's an activation of our spiritual quest, our true quest, which isn't even a quest. It's more of an embodiment. And so it's interesting that we've had this energy of landing a new timeline, or kind of activating a new ascension timeline. And then we have this square, and it's like, oh, you want to get back on your quest. It's like, there's a whole big part of you, supernova souls, that has not been expressed of your connection. A lot of times, the more connected spiritually you are and have been in past lives, the more disconnected you can find yourself in this life. And there's grief around this, right? So it's like the grief around how far we've gotten off our path, how far we've separated ourselves from our true nature in order to survive here. And this all lining up is kind of saying, you know, it's time to come back into this quest, this elevated quest, to understand, to see your role in the bigger picture. But there's a feeling of okay, so we know that it's often supernova souls have programmed low self-worth, like all of humanity. And it's kind of a mystery in supernova souls, because it's like, wait a minute, you guys are fully abundant with all these amazing gifts. So what are you doing in lack in your heart? And that it could be that this not feeling worthy energy in supernova soul is connected directly to where you feel like you got off your mission and your path, you know? So perhaps it's like hard to allow ourselves to receive the abundance, our own abundance, and the abundance of this world and the moment. And if we feel like we failed in our mission and purpose, now that's a trap. It's a total trap. And that's where they want us to be, you know, and just to be stuck in that trauma and separation. So, but we can't do that. And all the dynamic astrology, it's just so incredibly powerful, the messages and the urging to, with these squares, you know, the square energy is like, can't go that way anymore. And this is saying you can't have that energy of life and living without understanding your bigger role, not a bigger role in something specific that you need to go create necessarily. It's this embodiment. It's the being who we are. what we are rather than the doing. But we are co-creating by claiming and owning our world and our reality. And so that when the last few days as Mercury turned direct, it turned direct on the 3rd, and it was a little glitchy because that square Saturn, and now the square Saturn is going to be coming off in the next couple of days. And then we're going to move into Mercury's trine Pluto. And Mercury in trine Pluto is going to last through the middle, through that Sagittarius full moon. And so this is a sweet energy of harmonized freeing of our mind, taking back our mind. So it's like, okay, yeah, we want to co-create that world. Well, then we got to get out of that programming, that's keeping us in that disempowered state. And this is our divine masculine. That's that, Mars Chiron, divine masculine activation, where we rise up, but not to just rise up, not to fight, it's like we all have our own inner battles right now, but it's like to rise up, and like, I'm not going to take it anymore, and I'm going to claim my life back and fully live, but rise above and claim a different way of being. It's like, and the more you do that, it's so amazing, because at first you'll slip back into the lower matrix and kind of go back and forth, but eventually you'll establish more there. And then little by little, all that represents those false realities and will kind of fade away from your life. And more room and permission to claim and own your power, your reality, your timeline, and to rise up in our power and find this sense of self and strength and confidence in our masculine activation, to rest and receive in the feminine, like Venus and Taurus, and be activated into our higher power, our higher knowing, and simply rise above and claim another world just by living there. And it's really, really cool, because more and more people are doing it. And then it's like that 100th monkey. It's easier and easier to establish there. And then it just kind of anything that doesn't resonate is just kind of doesn't come into your life. And gradually, more and more, you're living your dream. And so we're being asked to take one little corner of our life right now, if whatever corner we can do. Maybe it's your garden in your home, a little area in your home, or perhaps there's more area you can work with. But where can we build this garden and begin to live in that place, to right here, right now, be the world we know we want to see, we know is possible, and cultivate that garden and take that garden with us as we travel on our journey. And imagine that energy calling all those tenders of the garden, those stewards of the earth. This is supernova souls, our stewards, they're earth healers. That means something different for every supernova soul. But we're definitely here and on a very powerful experience and journey and activation. And now it's time to, I feel like this Mars, Jupiter, and then Mars, Chiron, and Jupiter will come up with Chiron. And it's like, all right, enough of playing those roles and those games. And now we get on with the real deal. It's been hard enough for long enough for you. Now it's time to start going down the other side of the mountain. But first we have to rise above so we can see, and we're continuing to have interesting energies around navigation, trying to figure out what's best for us. It's so powerful, the possibilities energy right now. The more you can be present and be open in your schedule and your life, and feel into, instead of trying to push your way, it's like, yes, we want to take inspired action, but it needs to come from a place of alignment, and not just our lower personality construct trying to make our life what we want it to be. That's just so not working anymore. And it never really did work, just that feeling of coming up against that brick wall and that closed door again and again and again. And it's like, all right, I'm going to sit here, like Buddha under the Bodhi tree and receive. And this is this beautiful thing. It's like the activated masculine that's strong and confident, and action is coming out from an inspired place of alignment. And the activated divine feminine who is willing to receive and sit and be pampered and loved in the abundance of who she is in the goddess. It's like we're having this opportunity for all of us, male or female body, to incarnate goddess energy, to literally start to be energetically embody this goddess energy. And so this Venus and Taurus is about that. And it's also with Venus and Uranus, and that's going to be peak out around the 11th and 12th, just before that full moon in Sag. And that's very powerful as it's a Kundalini awakening, awakening of the feminine energies, creation energies moving in the body. So a very powerful opportunity to remake the body, on a cellular structure, to cleanse, to purify, to heal, to nourishment, very, very important. And an opportunity to, until you move into your power and into your intuitive knowing and your activation or your Kundalini awakening or your ascension, you're not going to find the fear programming. We all have it, especially supernova souls. And the more you've done in past lives with this technology, the more fear programming you're going to find. But you're not going to find that fear programming until you begin to move into activation. So we'll continue to have these waves of activating energies where we can feel our physical body trying to respond, and then nourishment and rest and self-care, of course, continue to be incredibly important. I would say radical self-care really fits the month of June with these activations, because we want to receive these light codes. We want to be healthy and whole, and that whole thing of coming home, and at home you get fed well and you're comfortable, you sleep well, and we need this. It's time for us to come home. So it's like that fully lived life. Yes, it's coming. It's on the horizon. We're going to claim it and own it. But we're also in this massive healing and recapitulation and changing our physical body with these energies, adjusting on a cellular level. So self-care is huge right now for this activating time. The full moon is going to be in a sextile with Saturn. And that's really powerful because we've just had this square with Mercury and Saturn. And then the sun will be in a trine with Saturn, and the sun is still with Pallas Athene all the way up until the full moon. The sun is hanging out there with Pallas Athene, the asteroid goddess of negotiation and peaceful negotiation, and using your intuitive strategy and words to avoid conflict, physical conflict. It's about justice and about the voice of justice, the feminine voice for justice. And that's a really powerful energy as that interacts, because that means that Pallas is involved with the square with Neptune. So now we know that our spiritual quest involves justice, can't get around that one. And also our new timeline with Saturn in Aquarius involves this blind justice, this getting back to the world that we know we want to see is based on a fundamental God-given right that we're all equal under the sun. And so that fundamental energy is the basis of justice and of peace. And so Pallas Athene is that activated divine feminine, and actually the feminine and the masculine together in that perfect balance. It speaks to the right brain, left brain actually working together. We've been traumatized, and are literally, so much has gone into over thousands of years keeping our right and left brain from connecting. And that keeps us in the monkey mind or the reptilian brain right? And trauma and reaction and all that. And you cannot create from that place. All you can create is more trauma. So powerful opportunities right now of awakening in our system, our physical system, of these capabilities that have been blocked for so long. And that's really what it feels like with this Venus Uranus. And then Venus comes up at the full moon, will be with the North Node. So the North Node is, how are we going to get to where we're going, our path forward. And in Taurus, it's about embodiment. This is exactly what we're talking about. We're rising above and embodying the vibrational frequencies of this new world. And so with Venus in the North Node, right after Venus and Uranus, and it's just like this, all right, girl, here's a little lightning strike activation. And let's, it's like she's blindfolded, and then we got to get her going in the right direction, take off the blindfold and send her on her way and see where she ends up, So it's a new timeline for the activated feminine and the activated feminine gifts, intuitive gifts that we're all uncovering, getting it to work with the right and left brain so we can come back into our heart and heart consciousness. So incredibly powerful times. And we're still going to be feeling, like we said, that this next couple of days, that Mercury square Saturn. But pay attention, because Mercury, as it comes out of that square with Saturn, then we'll start to feel this forward motion. And when Mercury and Saturn has just turned retrograde too. So we're kind of having a push-pull energy as they're in square, and it's that whole thing we've been dealing with for so long. It's just like, we got to turn the tide. We got to move this evolution forward. And then there's the old guard that won't let go. And that's exactly the feeling of this energy right now. But nothing can stop it from moving forward. Yes, planets go retrograde, but they're not really going backwards. They're always going forward, And so this evolution has been held back for so long, and we're taking back our timeline. We're taking back our future that was stolen. And we've got a lot of work to do to catch up to our technology where we really want to be. But we've got to do it in just the right way. And so this astrology is literally like a download of a step-by-step process supporting us in this time of activation. And completely your life is changing, new direction, new locations, new people. There's a lot of moving around, being called places to, and that's where it's like so powerful to allow ourselves to be present as much as we can, to receive from where we're at and in the moment as much as we can, so that we get that guidance and we feel into where's the next move, and then we feel like we're really in alignment. This is what this astrology is trying to bring to us, and that alignment is our higher quest and our spiritual purpose. And it's like supernova souls going from feeling so disconnected and so hopeless and so alone, and then coming into this strength and embodiment and confidence in your role that you're here to play in this glorious demolition process that we're in. And so let it all break down and just rise above and claim the world is possible right here, right now. And let's find each other there. So I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update, and we'll look out for that Sagittarius full moon activation. We can come together and take full advantage of this timeline activation. Thanks so much, supernova souls. I love you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.